Okay, so I'm gonna just do a quick video on like all the radio stuff. I set up a lot of these radios for Jeeps, for preppers, for stuff like that. I'm not gonna go too crazy into it for a couple of reasons. One, there's so much to cover. But two, you get radio nerds out there who are like, just will critique every last little thing you say, and I don't want to do all that. So this is going to be really, really basic. People are going to be asking, well, why didn't you cover the CTC, SS, all that bull crap? We're not going to do any of that, just the basic stuff. So, because I try to explain this to people when I'm sitting over the hood of the Jeep in the desert, and without pictures, I have to have pictures. I can't explain things without pictures half the time. And you're not gonna get a lot of this just trying to explain it without some kind of visual. So these are your two handhelds right here. This is the repeater over here. We're gonna talk about the two different kinds. You've got simplex and you've got duplex. That's the two big ones that are gonna be on these radios that you have. Simplex communication is just radio to radio. They talk and they receive on the same frequency. All this is going to be later, so we'll just do one at a time. So each of these radios, the easiest way to explain it is you've got your frequencies. 462 dot, let's say 400. So this radio is going to transmit and receive on 462 400 when you click the button. So if you want to hear and talk on that frequency, having a stroke, 462 400. You set this radio up 462 400. Now you're going to call it on your screen. You're going to say, I want to call that channel 1. We're going to call this one channel 1. Now channel 1 is 462 400. So everything within the bubble, if you hit transmit on this one, you squeeze your button, this radio is going to hear because they're both on the same frequency. It's about as simple as it gets. It's just a 6-digit phone number is the easiest way to look at it. So a lot of people ask, well, I don't want everybody to hear what I'm saying. I'm kind of worried to talk on it because everybody's going to hear me. And you're not talking about people in a 100-mile radius. These radios are about 8 watts each at best. So you've got 8 watts, 8 watts. So that gets you about 12 miles. So you're going to have a bubble of 12 miles that you can reach out, transmit, and receive from. Now this one over here, it's got 8 watts. It's going to get itself a bubble. So you got this part right here where they're able to hit each other. So everybody outside of this isn't going to hear your conversation. They've got to have some kind of super radio or something like that where they're just not that busy. So radio to radio, that's going to be your FRS channels. That's going to be your Marine Band channels. That's going to be your rugged radio, your UHF channels, and like MURS and stuff like that if you have them in. But that's the simplex. That's your radio to radio. So like your FRS family radio station, that's all unlicensed. That's like what you're going to see on the shelf at Walmart and stuff. So no license required. You pretty much talk freely. Try not to swear on it. But for the most part, the whole world isn't hearing this conversation. Now,
what happens if I do swear on it?
If you do swear on it, then some old guy in his chair is going to have a mild stroke and probably strike his wife and then go back to playing on his radio.
2 weeks ago, I ran out of vanilla ice cream and struck my wife. And then I find out my wife's been dead for 6 years. Who the hell did I hit?
Okay.
I assume, I don't know, somebody, if they got enough time on their hands, maybe they'll call the FCC, who will also do nothing. So you've got simplex right here. Now, if you want a private line where, let's say you're like in Phoenix or something like that, people are using stuff on a construction site and, well, we don't want people to hear our crap, all over the place because they'll get on it and start screwing with us and we won't be able to use our radios. Well, now you got 462 400, 462 400, where now you're going to put on what's called a PL tone, which is a private line. So it'll say tone. And for like road use and stuff like that, the universal channel for that is 141.3. You have other ones like 88.5, 162.2. There's all kinds of them that you can use, and you can mix it and make it whatever you want. So now you've got 462-400, but with a PL tone of 141.3. Now this radio can no longer hear this one. So we're going to put them a PL tone. Now you have to know this 141.3. If you don't, then you're never going to get on the channel. So now these two radios can talk to each other again, because they've got the same frequency, and they even have a private line tone that matches. Now nobody outside of there, let's say another guy comes in.
Now, real quick,
Yeah,
is this the PL tone something that has to be programmed in the radio prior to you going out, or is this something you can push in on the fly on the handheld?
so all of those radios they're field programmable. You can do them on that tiny little screen, but make yourself comfortable because you're going to be there a while.
So you do have the ability, but
You have the ability, but it's a pain. And I tried to do. I use my Chirp software on my computer, and it's just all right there, and you just real quick. So now if you got like a third radio here who comes in, and it's a Walmart radio, it's using FRS. That's not really what the FRS frequency is, but here's your FRS frequency. So he's got himself a little FRS radio, and he's got the same channel 1 you do. That's 462-400. Now he's definitely close enough that his bubble is inside your bubble, so he can mess with you guys if it wasn't for this PL tone. So he might be here on the same frequency, but because of this PL tone, he's not being able to receive or transmit on your channel. You're all on the same frequency, but without the PL tone, he can't hear or do anything. So it kind of just gives an extra layer because there's only so many frequencies that are available per band, and we won't get into all the bands and stuff like that. So sometimes they'll be matching frequencies, but then you get to mix it up with the PL tone, and that gives you so many more variations that people can't get into.
well, now a more practical application to this, or an example of this, we ran into it before going to, especially you go to a race, let's say, or
Yeah.
you go to somewhere busy like Crown King.
PL tone.
PL tones are going to be your friend because, like he said,
Everybody's got rugged radios. Everybody's got race radios. Those are the big ones that everybody markets. So even what they'll do out of the factory, well, hey man, I just bought a rugged radio. Why isn't mine talking to yours? Well, because they don't want to put them all on the same frequency, especially something that's commercialized like rugged radio.
well, and sometimes that's intentional. So we get out there and we're getting walked over on channel 1. Everybody go to channel 2. Well, we're getting walked over on channel 2. Well, if you have your own PL tones, we're on our own private channel 2.
We're on Super Secret Squirrel channel 1. Well, it's the same as mine. Yeah, but you don't have the PL tone. What's the PL tone? I'm not telling you.
Yeah, and you might want to be able to communicate with bigger groups and then hear what the other groups are doing.
So our radios are set up that way. We got two. Some of the radios have 00 and 01. I left channel 1 for like me and the kids. I don't want anybody walking over me and the kids when I'm trying to yell, get out of the road, there's a car behind you. So my channel 1 for me and the kids has a PL tone on it, and I won't say what it is. So I've got a regular channel 1, which is 00, and I have a PL tone channel 1, which is 01.
And I can tell you from experience that just from, because I don't do the programming and everything, but from usability from some random guy that just wants a radio to talk, is those PL channels have saved our butts more times than we can count and made our radios usable.
Yeah.
Half the people, you got race crews, you got pit crews, you got chase trucks, you got emergency.
Flaggers, everything.
And they're broadcasting on everything under the sun. And if you could just get that cut out of there, you got good radios that work with only who you want.
Yep. So if you get a new guy that comes along with you, hey man, we're gonna set your channel 1 PL tone 141.3. And I mean, you wouldn't do that off road because that's actually like a travel channel. That's what
Right.
they use it for. But we're not going to get into all that. But you would just pick some obscure number. Like I feel like I want it to be 6969. Why not? Because it's funny. It could be whatever you want it to be. But like we won't get into all the prepper stuff. But there are some that mean things. Like 141.3 if you're traveling and you're trying to catch a repeater. We'll do that with duplex and stuff like that. But that's a universal travel PL tone for like highways, roadways, traveling. And in this part, we'll just edit out me cleaning up the board. We're back. Now we're doing duplex. Now this is where you get into licensing. I dabble with a great practice is for like ham. You can go so much further with ham. Talk around the world. All kinds of cool stuff, but like if you want, you've got to take a test, you've got to learn a bunch of stuff. like the inner workings of these radios. If you want to get used to being able to talk and see what the etiquette is and everything like that, GMRS is the way to go. It's like $70 for the license. It's good for 10 years, up to 10 members of your family, if I remember right.
And what is GMRS?
GMRS, General Mobile Radio Stations. It's
So it's a different frequency or
a different, yeah, a whole different, like a different band. They're the 462, 467, stuff like that. So that's your, yeah, if we're not going to get all into, that's your UHFs. That's ultra high frequencies. You got VHF, which is your 162 point something like that. The nerds will go insane if I get going on that too much, but it's a certain frequency range, the 462 to 467s and all the numbers in between. That's GMRS. That's set aside just for that. So the GMRS, they're big with the repeaters. That's what the repeaters are all running. And what you do, that's when you get into duplex. So say you've got this little 8-watt repeater here, or this 8-watt radio, I'm sorry, here. But you've got a buddy, this is not to scale. Now these guys were within 12 miles of each other. So your next buddy is going to be up here, and he's over in, well, like we did the other day, there's somebody up in Payson. We were talking to some guys up in Payson. Just
from where?
What's that?
From where?
From here in Tonopah. So we were in Tonopah, Arizona. They were in Payson, Arizona. And I don't know how far that is as a crow flies, but that's a hell of a distance. So up here you got Payson. I should use a different color. I'm getting all the same color here. So up here you got Payson. Over here you've got, Tonopah, Arlington, whatever. That 8-watt, we're talking about duplex now, so 8 watts is not going to travel the 100 and something miles it is to Payson. It just does not have this is the 12-mile bubble here. So this guy's only reaching to, same bubble, same 8-watt little bubble. So you need to reach this repeater. Now this one is, we're going to say Crown King.
Which is conveniently kind of located between the two towns you just mentioned.
Yeah, big triangle.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not even really in between. It's actually off to the sides. It would be like a big triangle even, which makes it even cooler to show this because it's kind of set up the same way. So Tonopah needs to reach to Payson. There's just not enough power. I don't care how big of a unit you got where you're going to reach up and through all the mountains, because you've got mountains and stuff in the way all over the place between here and there. So even if you had enough power, you're not going to hit off of these. So that's where elevation is your friend, and you've got Towers Mountain 575 Crown King repeater. So God bless the man that put this thing up here. I love this repeater. 462. Some stuff I cannot put in here. I will not put in the tones and all that crap before somebody takes this off of YouTube forever because I put in the tones, because you gotta, there's a thing about that. So you got 462, 575. That's a GMRS frequency. So I may edit out a lot of that rambling, but now that we're set up here, again, you've got 8 watts, they can't reach each other. You need to be able to talk to your buddy in Payson. So what do? You talk to this Crown King repeater, but now you've got another 100 miles from here to that Crown King repeater. So how the heck, if I can't reach 100 miles here, how the heck am I going to reach 100 miles here? He's only pushing 8 watts. This thing has got a radius, I've heard it all the way down to Yuma. I don't even know what the mileage would be for that, roughly. It's a lot.
Couple hundred miles.
Couple hundred miles. This thing, it says it only does like 78 miles. It does every bit of a couple hundred miles. I've been down by the border and have used this to talk all over the thing. So we'll use a red circle for him. This one is putting out, it's essentially 2 radios. And it's got a great big bubble that encompasses pretty much this. If I had another board, it would keep going onward to, New Mexico and all the states above us, everything. That thing is just impressive. So both these radios are inside this thing's bubble. They don't need to travel that distance. As long as this bubble will reach this thing's bubble, it can talk. They're all inside of it. So this is where duplex gets really weird, and I'm probably going to screw it up a whole bunch. So if you send a signal to this, it doesn't just simply bounce. Okay. All right, and we're back because I screwed up and I almost put the tones for the whole world to see. So you've got this right here. It would be an exploded image. Not really that cartoony, but there's going to be two radios in there. Not literally two handhelds, although you can build one, but we're not going to get into that. Because you need two radios. You need one to transmit. You need one to receive. So you got a transmit radio. You got a receive radio. So 462-400 down here wants to talk 462-400 up in Payson.
You know what would really help this illustration? If you put a T and an R next to which one's transmit and receive. So when you draw your lines, we know where you're going.
Transmit, receive.
Thank you.
All right. That's actually a good idea. All right, so these guys are going to get off this channel because they're just not going to. This is what the repeater channel is. That's what they set it for. There's our 575 repeater, the 462-575. So now most of these repeaters are locked out, so that way people that are part of you join a GMRS club and then they give you the tones to access these things. I'm not going to use the real tone because that's kind of what you pay for and it keeps all the riffraff off of it. So we're going to say that the PL tone, the first step to getting a repeater working on your radio is you need to be, well, first off, these guys got to be on the right frequency. So 462.575. 462.575. Okay, so now these two guys, you'll actually hear this repeater, but you cannot transmit to it. You go to this frequency, you'll hear it all over the place because you're inside this great big red bubble that we talked about. But you can't access it. To access it, you've got to have a PL tone. I'm going to just make something up just so I don't screw it up. It's going to be, let's just say 111.5. This guy's going to go 111.5. This guy's going to have, and then this is the tone to access it is going to be 111.5. Now you are transmitting and hitting the receive part of the repeater. But all that's going to do is go to the receive and stay in the receive. It's going to keep staying in the receive because there's nowhere it can go. You just transmitted 462.575 to it. Great. You need to have the repeater, which is a little box in between here. Now, you're receiving on 462.575. It has to transmit on a different frequency, so you're going to have what they call an offset. It's going to be plus or minus 5,000 of 0.5. I'm not going to get that off the top of my head. So you're going to offset it by the 5.00 whatever. It's going to be 5 numbers off of this is essentially what it's going to be. Just 5.0000. God, I really feel like I just need to do this again. I had a mild stroke because duplex always screws me up. We're going to try this again. We're just worrying about this radio, trying to talk to this radio right now. So you've got 462.575. You are sending it to the repeater at 462.575. But why isn't your buddy up here hearing you? Well, because you're at 462.575, and it's going to repeat back on 462.575. It's just going to come over here and stay over here. It's not going to do anything. So you need to offset. It'll ask you in your chirp software for an offset. And you're going to go plus or minus whatever value you want. In our case, we're going to do plus 5.000. And what that's going to do is be 5 5 numbers higher than this. So this 462,
We have 467, 575.
yeah. So you got 467.575.
575.
So there's your offset of 5.000. And so now what it'll do is it'll come in 462, come into here, and now it's going to transmit back out on 575 over here.
So that
Now-
signal going out is now out of the transmit.
Now it's coming out of the transmit with a 5,000 offset, or I keep calling it 5,000 because it looks like 5,000 with the 5.00 offset, whatever it is. So you need to have the offset right too. Otherwise, you're just going to be talking. It's going to scramble around there and go nowhere. Well, I'm talking to it, but it's not whatever. So if you know your repeater is working, you'll click your handle, you'll let it go, and you'll hear it go, it'll hiss back at you, then it'll pause, and then it'll hiss again. That's it hitting the one radio, transmitting your message again back out. So you know your repeater is working without anybody talking if it hisses back at you twice, because it's repeating. So if it comes in at 462.575, leaves at 467.575. It'll be the vice versa with your buddy over here. When he goes to talk back, he'll transmit. You'll set your transmit for 462.575, and you'll set your offset 5,000 off for your receive to be at 467.575.
Now, probably another silly question. So that handheld, the top one up there in Payson, is set for 462.575.
Yeah.
How does it receive 467.575?
Okay, so yeah, that's what I was just thinking that too. I was like, I can explain this better. The old way of doing this, before they updated everything, now you got to actually do the math and figure out the offset. The easiest way to look at this is the way it used to be. That actually makes it a lot easier. When you're setting your radio up, you got transmit and you've got receive. So you know, like we talked about with simplex from radio to radio, you would have 462.575, 462.575. It was redundant, so if you're doing simplex, they just got rid of this. If you select the option for offset, then it would know that you needed it. So what you do is you do the same thing over here, TX, RX, transmit and receive 462.575, 462.575. And now, when you talk to each other, you're going to transmit and receive on these frequencies, because all the frequencies are the same. But it was super redundant to type everything in twice. So they made it to where you do the offset. So the way it would look to talk to this repeater in this format, which is actually a better format, would be 462.575, 467, 467.575, 467.575.
And you could label that set right there as channel 3 repeater.
Yeah, and in mine, it's labeled,
So you wouldn't mess up a whole channel 3 by, well, this one has to go through a repeater.
yeah, our channels are labeled, because they only give you 6.
And I'm just using a random number here, but like,
Yeah.
let's say it's channel 3, and you want a normal channel 3, but then you also want one that hits the repeater. You can preset a repeater channel 3, correct?
Yeah, so ours are labeled Crown, King, Lower. They only give you 6 digits, so you gotta make the best of it. So Crown, King, Lower, there's a higher, another 600 that we don't use. So that's what the name of the channel would be Crown, King, Lower. So that's the name of the channel. You just call it, you don't see all this bull crap on your radio. It's just, oh, Crown King Repeater. Go to Crown King Repeater and you talk on it just like you would any other channel. So now we go back to here. You are transmitting. When you click the button, you are sending to the 462.575. And this one, that's the receive side of this one. It goes through and it comes back here off the 467.575 radio. Well, what's his receive at? His receive frequency is 467.575. So that's why he can hear now what this one is saying off of this one. Because his receive setup is for offset by 5, is receiving off of this top radio and the repeater right here. So same thing, he wants to talk back, he's talking to transmitting 462.575 to 462.575. It bounces through, it hits the transmit repeater at 4, and it sends it back out at 467.575. So it's going to come back in to this one's 467.575. So that's why when somebody's like, well, put that repeater in, it's like, I would love to, but it's not one of those things you can really do on the fly. You've got to have all the stuff with it. Because they might, if you look, so many of my repeaters, I wanted to throw my computer through the room because I missed this one little sign right here. It could be offset by 5,000, minus 5,000. It could be
Not 5,000,
5.00, work with me on that one. Or it could be, I feel like being an asshole and I'm going to offset it by 4.571 just to make people do math. And then you've got to figure out what the heck that number is here and put it in here so it'll work. And that's for people who have really like repeaters that they just really don't want people to screw with, because generally, if you're not a dick, GMRS is always 5,000 plus or minus. 5.00 plus or minus. So
numbers are hard.
yeah, numbers are hard. Now that I stand back and look at the board, holy crap. But yeah, that's why I can't explain it over the hood of a Jeep. So I'll get people like, hey, we'll just punch that repeater in real quick, or just put in the frequency and we'll see if it works. You could put in the frequency all day long. You might hear some stuff, but you can't access the repeater. This tone will when you hit this tone, will activate that repeater box in there. But then you still have to have the correct offset, because it may activate the box and everything, but if you don't have the correct offset, this thing doesn't have the frequency to send it out on that frequency. And the other person is not going to hear you because they're not on that frequency too. So everybody's got to be, that's why they really they want you to have your license. They want you to, you don't have to pay for a lot of these groups. They just want you to have their license. So once you have your license, you just give them your call sign, which mine I won't put up here, but once you have a call sign, they can go back and look at who you are, and this guy is licensed and everything like that. So he's not going to screw around on this thing because he just paid for that license for him and his family. So it just keeps the riffraff out. I mean, even with that repeater, there's an idiot kid who bought a car that somebody left that radio in it, and now he just gets on there to screw with people constantly. So maybe one day he'll die, we hope. But yeah, that's the difference between simplex and duplex. Duplex is repeaters. That's going to be your channels, your GMRS channels, all those ham channels. I do plan on getting my ham license. I put them in there. You can listen. There's nothing wrong with listening, but you cannot transmit if you're not licensed. The reason why I put the ham in there, even though I do plan on getting it, I don't transmit it on, but I listen. I do plan on getting a ham license and playing with it a little bit and getting to know some of the guys that are out here that have these things set up. But at the end of the day, if the world goes to crap, anybody who's looking into that prepper stuff, the licensing isn't going to matter. The cell phones are going to go down. Nobody's going to be able to talk to anybody. You're not going to want to burn any gas to go find anybody because the pumps are going to be down. We have no earthly idea what could come and what couldn't come. So these are like one of those things where you just turn it on, you hit the scan button, all of those repeaters are going to come alive. It's going to be the only form of communication people have. Licensing is not going to matter. So they're already in the radio. Nobody's going to care about licensing at that point. At least you have them in there. So that's why I put the ham stuff in there. But ham, GMRS, those are all the duplex channels that are typically licensed, and this is why they're licensed. Did that make sense to you? Because if it made sense to you, it should make sense for the video.
Right. And that covered everything, the basics of it.
Yeah. So yeah, we've got Globe, we've got Greer, we've got Crown King, we've got Prescott, Flagstaff. I've got some down in Tucson, Sierra Vista, stuff like that. It takes a long time to not only find that crap, but get it put in and get it working, because then you've got to try it and stuff. So we've got a pretty good list on those radios, but it's
And you didn't mention it in the video.
Is it still going?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you didn't mention it in the video, but we were doing it the other night, where if somebody wanted to test these, when you were communicating with the Thursday night, fancy term for it.
Oh yeah, they've got their.
This is for anybody who wants to
Yeah.
test what he just
So when you
explained.
get your GMRS license and you want to try them out, now you can actually use this. It's not just for this net thing that he was talking about. They have a Tuesday night net that it's called. Well, it's Tuesday night for the 550, Thursday night for the 550 in Buckeye. There's a repeater on the Buckeye one, and that's 462550. They open it up to the public. Well, it's always open to the public, but they open it specifically that evening for the public to come in, and they'll say, we've got, how many people want to go ahead and chime in? So you just come in on your radio. In my case, I'm not going to use my real call sign for the video, WRPE 488. That will be somebody's, but it's not mine. Calling out of Tonopah, Arizona, and they'll say, hey, you sound great, loud and clear. We got you written down here, 488. Who's number 2? Somebody else will come in, WRX 5 or whatever the thing point, their call sign.
And we're all listening into this while they're doing it.
Yeah, everybody's on.
And they're asking for the location, so you know how far you just heard somebody talk from. So we were sitting out here in Tonopah, and
We got a Union Hills, we got a Payson, we get them from all over the state. They're really.
and you get to hear that too.
You get to hear it and you can talk to it because they heard you too. So then we had one lady come in from Union Hills and she must have been on a handheld, probably in a building. It's right in the heart of Phoenix and stuff like that. So they said, "Oh, you're coming in a little scratchy." She turned her dials a couple times, messed with a few things. "Oh, that's a little better, but you still got a little bit low. Can you speak up or can you change this setting or that setting?" "Well, hold on." And then she comes back and she changes a few settings. She's like, "Okay." She calls her call sign out again. And they say, "Oh, well, we got you loud and clear that time. Whatever you just did, cleared it all up. Who's our next one?" And the next person just chimes in and says what they're doing. So it sounds like a bunch of people just screwing off, but it's a good chance to test your equipment, hear how far out you're reaching off that repeater, and see where it's working. Now, like what I like to do on the net is I hop in my Jeep. Well, the net's coming up tonight at 7 p.m. or whatever. I'll go get my Jeep. I'll go find a hole somewhere out in Harquahela where I plan to go if the world goes to crap. And he's like, "Well, this is good coverage. It's got a lot of places to hide. Nobody can really see me down here, but holy crap, this is really going to screw with my radio." I'll go park in there and wait for the net. When the net comes in, I'll chime in and I'll see how far. If I can hit the repeater, I'm hitting all the same places I did in a good area. I just want to make sure I can hit that repeater and I can hear that repeater. Because if things go to crap, that's the hole I'm going to be hiding in. I would like to know what's going on around me and what might be coming my way. So you try it out in bad. You try it out in a good area first so you can get used to it. Then you go and you try it out in bad areas. And that's every time I go down to the border, I find the biggest, lowest Malapai Rock Mountain, which is full of iron, to park behind or in. And I'll move my nose around the mountain going, okay, I'm not scratchy anymore. I'll move behind the mountain. Okay, I'm scratchy. I'll move all the way behind the mountain. Okay, I'm gone. I'll start driving away from that mountain and see how far past it I have to get to still catch the signal. Okay, I went about 10 miles past the mountain, but it's still directly in line with the repeater. But 10 miles back, I'm still catching the repeater. So I know 10 miles behind this mountain, I'm not going to get anything. So just a lot of people like to know what their equipment can and can't do before, crap happens, and you get to learn it when the world goes to crap. I would like to learn beforehand. So, but yeah, the nets are cool. The people that put these repeaters up, they'll hold a net, they'll come over the radio and say, "Welcome to the Tuesday night net." Everybody start calling in where you're from. They might even do trivia. They do that a lot. They'll do trivia questions and have people call in just to keep it busy. Because while these people are talking, it might sound like idle chatter. You've got these people that are super into it, that are changing every little dial, changing everything. "Oh, this guy out in Union Hills was scratchy." But the people that are really close to me are coming in like the voice of God, and it's blowing my earmuffs off. Or if they're using a station, or these are really static. I got too much power here, or squelch is off, or whatever. They're fine tuning while they're doing this stuff. Well, now we're gonna do trivia. Even if he doesn't know the answer, he's gonna come through. Because if you come through weird, that you want people to critique you. "Hey, yeah, that was the correct answer. You are coming in a little scratchy. You want to make an adjustment now, or you want to catch us after?" And then you go, "Well, how do I sound now?" "Much better now." "Okay, moving on to the next question." And then they'll go on. It sounds like a lot of silly talk, but there's a reason behind all of it. So, yeah, that's all right. Like, I need pictures from my own brain. I try to explain this, and then I always get lost between I forgot. I'm glad you said something about that. So, yeah, with that frequency the way it is, that's how it works. But now with the new Chirp software, they don't even tell you about the other one. You just got your transmit, and they assume it's going to be the same one unless you set the offset. Well, crap, I want to come in on 467575. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 7, 6, 7, 7, and then you've got to kind of do the math. But yeah, that's all. But yeah, for what we have here, this is how that would work. And that is not the tone for that. I'm not that stupid. I did not put that up there. That is one I pulled out of my ass. So that's simplex and duplex.